Hello and good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. How are you guys doing today? I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. I want to first start out by welcoming you to the Productivity and Efficiency Using Microsoft Outlook webinar. My name is Mona Cross. I'm your facilitator today. And also, as you see at the bottom of the slide, you will notice I have my email address. You guys, if you have any questions, you can email me. And what I'm going to do first is run through a very quick slideshow for you guys. Then I'm going to start demoing some additional tools that I think are very efficient with Outlook. And if you will, we are going to have a Q&A session for a few minutes at the end. So I will be more than happy to answer questions for you. Okay. So what I want to do first is let me run to the first slide. And I want to talk to you a little bit about efficiency. Efficiency at work is really important. And, these days we don't seem to be having enough time to do everything. So efficiency is the often measurable ability to avoid wasting materials, our time, our energy, and we don't want to do that anymore. So in time, some of the things that we do, I'm going to be showing you a much quicker way to do things, because we do, in general, as you see, I have up here, we want to do things well and successfully and without wasting a lot of time and even material. Now, I'm going to show you some very important tools, which I find are some of my favorites. So I'm also going to hope that they are your favorites as well. First, in Outlook, it is not really just email. Oftentimes, I hear people mention that, oh, Outlook is just email. Outlook's not just email. It is actually a desktop organizer, because it's not just email. You have a calendar, you have contacts, you have everything associated with Outlook that normally you used to keep on your desk. And sometimes people still use a calendar per se to write things down. Well, in here today, I'm hopefully going to show you some ways to implement some of the more successful tools in Outlook. And with that first bullet point, you see, when we upgrade our software and we get more tools that are added, sometimes we think our favorite tools have been terminated or taken away from our programs. That's not always necessarily the case. Sometimes they've just been condensed, put into a menu option, or maybe just added a shortcut to it, and you maybe just cannot find it. So today, I am going to show you some of the more important things. So be prepared. All right. These are some very cool tools, and I'm going to go slow. And then, of course, I will demo with my own Outlook a couple of additional tools that it would take way too many slides to demo for you. So let's go ahead and get started with our Outlook demo. Okay. One of the things also that might help is if you have your Outlook open, you can actually follow along with these demos that I'm going to show you. And maybe that will help you as well. So generally, we always feel that hands-on is a much better way for us to do things. So the first tool that I want to share with you is that oftentimes we have our fingers on our keyboards, and I like using my control key. Well, at one point in time, I kept sending out emails accidentally, and we know what that can do for us. So What I decided to show you first is if you will go into your file menu and go to options. When you choose options, go to the mail menu and then go and also select under send messages. Come down and take the check out of the box that says Control plus Enter sends your message. We do not want that to happen because we always accidentally send out our emails. And I am also going to mention this to you right now. In email, when I'm sending one, I always use what we refer to as the bottom-up approach. And I'm going to touch on that in just a moment. Yes, you are correct. Outlook is a very big user of roaming profiles. So as we go through, one of the other things that you can do when you're creating an email, again, work from the bottom up. This will also save you time, a little bit of confusion. Okay, so from there, do your message first, then your subject, then add your addressees, and then send your email. Also, with that, when you work with Outlook, if there's nobody in the address fields, then check your drafts folder. I know a lot of you probably already do, but for new users of Outlook, this is a really big thing. It won't send it unless you have people in the address fields. Okay. Now, for our next slide, I want you to just check those things. And now from here, I sent you and gave you an option for the online version versus the desktop version. I prefer my desktop version. So on the left side, what happens if you get an email from someone and when you click on it and go to the next email, then it automatically, marks it as a read message. Well, I'm going to show you a couple of quick ways. The view on the left is my favorite view. When you see the blue bar on the left side, you click on it and that will mark it as a read message or an unread message. You still can go into the messages, whether you're on the desktop view or the web view, by right clicking, or in the web view at the top, you have read or unread. That marks your email as a read message or an unread message. This blue bar over here does not work for that. So this is my favorite view, and try that if you're on the desktop application. All right, next. From here, one of the things I thought might also be very critical for a lot of new users, especially if you are using Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams has an option that you can use the @ symbol and then also type someone's name. Well, in here, it does as well. If you're using Microsoft Teams, go to the message field. And when you use the @ symbol, it opens up your current list of people. And when you start typing their name, it automatically adds it to your message field. But from there, it automatically will add it to the to field. So you may not want it to be in the to field. Well, and I'll show you this in real time in just a little bit. You can actually click and hold on the user's name that you put in the to field. Click and hold and drag it to either CC or BCC. If you delete them out of the message field where I ask you to use the @ symbol, if you delete their name, then it will delete it from the to the CC or the BCC field. And this is just an example of where I used mine and I typed an address after an @ symbol, and it shows the most current people that I communicate with the most. And then all you have to do is either hover over it and click, or use your arrow keys to highlight it and just hit your tab key and it will populate it in the message field. All right, so I'll pause for a moment to make sure that you are at least trying this. Again, that's only if you use Microsoft Teams. Now, for the next slide, again, one of the things that you might want to use frequently in Outlook, you can go in and go to your contacts and add, anybody that you want to add, whether it's somebody personal or professional. I used this email from Kevin because I did not have him in my contact list. When you hover over someone's name that you received an email from, or even someone that you see in the list of email addresses, when you hover over their name, it automatically will turn blue. Right click. When you right click, you're going to get a list. And in that list, you will see Add to Outlook Contacts. And all you have to do is click on it. It will open up that user, pardon me, as a new contact. And all you have to do is save and close the window, unless you want to add any additional details like the company name or what their job title is or anything like that. However, you can ask that person to forward you their contact card. It is important for you guys to know that if you want to be able to forward your contact card to somebody, create your own contact as yourself, put all of the details in there that you want the user to see and have. And then anytime you need to forward it, do that. And all they have to do is right click on it and choose Add to Outlook Contacts. So that's one that I will need to actually demonstrate live in just a little bit. It was going to be way too many instructions. So this is one thing to add someone to your contact list. From here, I also want you to know that when you right click on any email, you will see ways that you can mark it as read or unread, among a lot of other options. For example, your reply to all, and your forward. And also, just as a little caveat, don't forget that you always need to forward an email that has an attachment if you want that user to have the attachment and see the details. Not only that, I'm going to talk about categories and flags as well. And those are important. These are things I'm going to show you in a live view shortly. Other things are, you see rules and moving a message to other folders, as well as ignoring it, marking it as junk, deleting it, and also archiving it. But if you notice up here at the top, we have assign policy. That's actually about deleting and also archiving. So that's also going to be a live preview. For our next bit of information, one of the things I want you to do is to take full advantage of the autocorrect options. Autocorrect is not just about correcting your spelling or a word that you type all the time and accidentally spell incorrectly, and it will automatically flip it to the correct word. Autocorrect is also a way that you can go in and create your own shortcuts. So to get to that, you would go to your file menu, come down to options. And when you get to the options, go to mail. And then from there, you would choose spelling and autocorrect. And then from there, go to your autocorrect options. When the window opens up, it's going to look just like this. At the bottom, toward the middle of the window, excuse me, then you see you have a replace and a with field. Replace is where I recommend that you put an acronym. For example, in mine, if I don't want to have to type New Horizons Computer Learning Center all the time, I went in and added NHCLC, and that's all I have to type. When I hit my space bar, my tab key, or hit enter, it will auto-populate the company's full name. Anything that you want to add to put in there will benefit you, because when I type it, I don't have to worry about spelling it out all the way. And autocorrect also has some things that you might want to go and turn off. In autocorrect, when you see like the parentheses around the letter C, that automatically changes it to a copyright symbol. For the R, it will change it to a register mark. What if you're using that?
Hey, Patrick. Hello. Hey, how are you?
Good.
All right.
Hey, I want to ask you, how did it go on Sunday?
It went okay. It
Can
was
you
free.
mute yourself, please? Thank you. Okay, thanks. But one of the other things I want to mention to you is you might use those letters in parentheses for bullet list or something that you put in your Outlook. And when you type it that way, it's going to automatically convert to a copyright mark, which is not what you're trying to do. If that's the case, any tool in there that you see, you want to go in there and remove it. So you would simply click on it, and then when you do, it's going to show delete down here at the bottom. So please make sure you delete something, so that way you're not getting frustrated with this stuff happening in your Outlook account. Any of the shortcuts that you add in Outlook are only for Outlook. So that means, like me, I had to go into Word and add the same thing, and you do the same way for Word. You just go down and you select your autocorrect options in Microsoft Word to add the same tools. From here, also, please always check and make sure that your check spelling as you type is on, which is something that's very helpful. And of course, as you go through, make sure that you use a lot of the tools that I'm going to show you today. All right, so I'm going to the next slide. From here, for example, if you have something that you need to put into Outlook for an attachment, whether it's a Word document, a Excel spreadsheet, or anything along those lines, I'm using a sample here just to show you. You find the document, whether it's on your OneDrive or in your mail folder, whether it's another email, any type of document that you want to add to an email, you open up the email first, and then you just drag and drop it inside the message field on your email, and it automatically adds it as an attachment. Very helpful. And of course, you can drag and remove it out of there as an attachment, whereas most of us will click the drop down and go in and try to remove all attachments or whatever. You can actually drag and drop it out of there as well. Put it on your computer somewhere. But it's always handy for you to know that these things are fairly simple and easy to use. It's just a matter of you getting used to those tools. Next, this is where I'm going to show you the scheduling poll and what this does in Outlook. If you go into Outlook and you want to set up a meeting with somebody, you want to go in and you want to check their scheduling. When you just click on a scheduling poll, it shows you the list of the people, or up here you choose a date, and it shows you a list of people that you need to add into your meeting event. Yes, I will, Jessica. I'll show you that. In 365, you do not have these options. Some of the options I'm showing you today are not in 365. Okay, I know that's unfortunate, but this is one of them. So this is more for the desktop view. From here, you can also check it in 365 when you add an event. I will say this, 365 lets you hover over their name, or if you add a bunch of people, you have the scheduling assistant that will help you. But you do have that in the desktop view as I know that's terrible, isn't it? But this scheduling poll, I think, is real important based on the names. And these are just some of my coworkers. I can choose a time frame and it shows me how many are available at a particular time. So if I'm saying, well, I really only need 3 people there, so one of them is myself, the other 3, I can check and see who that is by clicking on those simple icons. But you can do it through a message as well as through a calendar event. All right, next. This one, I have started using it when it first came out, and I just fell in love with it. In your email, when you are on your insert menu, you have all of these special tools that you can use. Reuse files has become one of my favorites. When you select reuse files, you will get a dialog box on the right that shows you some of the latest files that you've worked in. And to add that to an email, again, like an attachment, you just simply click on it. Or if you go and click on it without adding it, you can go in and hover over a paragraph or highlight some details in an email or a document, and also click and add that. This is another one I'm going to show you when we do the live demo shortly. Okay. Again, this is one of my favorite tools that you can use. Now, from here, what you are going to do is on your calendar, it's going to be recorded, Cynthia, so you should have access to that. We'll go through and ask Mr. Brian about that. When you go into, you're welcome. When you go into your calendar, you have calendar properties at the top. Let's say, and I'll use Cynthia as this example, let's say that you are going on an appointment and you do not want to be bothered, but you have something in your calendar that you want people to check, let's say one person. Go to the calendar properties and it opens up this window. Check the permissions or click the permissions tab. Come down and add. That takes you to your address book. If you do not have anybody assisting you with your calendar at this time, then add someone and they can go in, especially if it's an event like a webinar today. And you want people to only see when you're busy, or you can let them view the titles and the locations of your event so they can reach out with you. Maybe you had to turn your phone off or for whatever reason. You can also let them view the details and they can also edit. So it's up to you what permission level that you give somebody. From here, once you do that, you select OK. So it will show that person's name. Now, right now, you see my whole organization, New Horizons Wide. They can see when I'm busy, but it doesn't show them the details. All right. So just remember, after you add someone, you choose their permissions, then you select OK. If you add multiple people, make their permissions a little bit different. This is just for security's sake. I would not give everybody full rights to my calendar as far as seeing all of the details and such. Now, for our next slide, this is something I think is real important with your calendar, and it is the categorize features. Once you set up your categorized features, they work throughout all of Outlook. Now, categories, you see, I have some of mine, and these are ones that I use. These are live details that I've shared with you for things and events that I've got for this week. And of course, over here is the webinar that we're doing right now. And then, of course, behind here is where I'm going to be supporting and answering questions for some of my students. So some of it's through email, some of it is just through phone calls. Then I have a special Outlook training coming up on Thursday, as well as training Friday, and also training with a client Friday afternoon. From here, I have color coded these to what I prefer. Everybody doesn't use the same color code, so it would be up to you to try to understand what somebody else's colors are. However, you can send out an email or a calendar event that says we want to talk about categories and ask everybody to use the same colors. But again, that is going to be up to you. To see all of your categories, you would choose the drop down and go to all categories. The quick click is when you go to select an event or an appointment or a meeting. When you click on it, you can automatically set it up, but you can also add shortcuts, which shows in the all categories. And if I use this in mail, it's going to be the same category. If I use it in my contacts, everything is going to be the same. All right. From here, I also want you to know that we do have a few quick shortcuts that will help you. These are just some of my favorites. If you are still using Control-Alt-Delete and clicking Lock Computer, use your Windows key. Your Windows key is on the left side of your keyboard between the Control key and the Alt key. If you are on a laptop, it's going to be between your Function key, the FN, and the Alt key. But you just hold that down and hit the letter L and it locks your computer. And you're going to get so good with that, you're going to be able to do it in a split second. Another one, if you are working in Windows, and you've got multiple windows open, whether it's Word and Excel or PowerPoint and Outlook or whatever, and you need to get to your desktop for some details, hold the Windows key down and hit the letter D. That will also take you to the desktop where you can see everything that you have there. If you click on other things, then Windows D will not open back up to all of the tools that you had, but this is just a quicker way for you to access your desktop. Another one of my favorites is the Windows key and the letter E actually opens up File Explorer and lets you get to all of the locations on your computer, whether it's your desktop or your documents or pictures or anything along that line. Dragging and dropping from File Explorer also works. If you've got multiple monitors, have your Outlook open on one monitor, File Explorer opened on the other, and then just drag and drop from one to the other. Another quick tool that I want to share with you, we have a tendency to do things the longer way. Let's say you are working in Microsoft Word and you don't want to close out the program. You want to close out just the document. That's when you would choose File to close, but go into File Explorer, find a Word document and drag and drop it, and it automatically opens up. Same thing for Excel, PowerPoint, Access, any of those tools that I share here with you, you can use in all of our applications. All right. When we find our own way of using our tools, we are going to become much more efficient. And what I want you to do is think about the tools that you use and how you might be able to assist others in sharing those tools. And for me, that's what this is about. With training, I love my job. I don't mind sharing stuff. I probably can share all kinds of shortcuts. So what I want to do now is let me share this with you. We're concluding the online portion as far as the video, and I'm not the video, excuse me, the presentation, but I am going to share some additional shortcuts with you in the live demo. So the things that I've shared, hopefully that will help you become more productive and efficient, but hang on because I've got some more tools to share with you. Outlook has a lot of hidden features. So we at New Horizons are committed to helping you. And as we go through, please understand you can check us out on our website. I've put links in here. And of course, we are also going to ask you to share some of your thoughts and also questions. So I know I've got a few questions in here, but if you guys will give me a few minutes, I'm going to respond to some of those when we do the live demo. All right. So I do want to thank you for being here for the presentation. And now I'm going to go to the live demo. If you will, let me close this video out from earlier. All right. And of course, in my demo, I'm opening up my Outlook, but I'm going to go to a folder where it's going to make it a little bit easier. So here is my Outlook, and you see this is one that I kept for myself that I shared with you because I do want to share this and show you how to use it. So in an email, I have a couple of sample ones here that I wanted to use, but also I'm going to open up a brand new one over here as a blank. So in Outlook, as I told you, and I hope you guys can see this okay, let me just enter this down a little bit. And if I'm in here and I want to say hello to Brian, let's see, I'll say hello, Brian. But I don't add him to my to list, and I'm just going to say at, and I'm sorry, my mouse just clicked and twitched somewhere else. If I type a B, there's Brandon's name, excuse me, and I said Brian, pardon me, senior moment here. But if I go in and tab, you see it has his name up here. So Brandon, I'm sorry about that. I don't know why I've got Brian on the brain today. Whoops. You know, computers can be so crazy sometimes. And my comma. So after his name, I just space. If I want to add anyone else, I would do at, and I would arrow down to my manager, Sue Ann, and add Sue Ann. You can keep adding them, and as you see, it populates them in the to field at the top. Well, remember I mentioned to you that you could click and select, and then you see how my cursor has the four-sided arrows. I just click and drag it down to the CC field or the BCC field, instead of just typing it over and deleting. And that's one of the things that we have a tendency to do, is to make it a lot harder than it really needs to be. Okay. So that is an email. And then of course, I'm going to minimize it. And I have my File Explorer open on my other screen. And I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to find a document, whoops, and just share a portion of this with you. And this is my File Explorer. So I would just drag and drop, and voila, it has been added. If you have multiple that you want to add, I will, however, drag this one down, and well, not doing what I want it to do. So I will remove that the hard way. If I've got multiple, what I would do is single click on one, hold down my control key, and single click on, I'll do this zip folder. When I drag and drop, it will add all three. So instead of you guys having to do it the long way, as far as going up to the top, and let me move this over, going up to the top and maximize this and go to attach file, you can do it there as well. And then you can browse your PC now, but that's just the way that I like to share that. How did I drag and drop? When you go and click on a name, just click and drag and drop it into the field that you want to go to. When you have it highlighted, your cursor is going to have the four-sided arrow. Let me click off of that. And when I select it back, you see the cursor. It has that little four-sided arrows. I can drag and drop it anywhere I want it to go. You're very welcome. All right. Let me go back up. I know there was a few questions. Outlook is very big. That was from Paul about a better fix for multiple users on one appliance. That would be via the network, not necessarily Outlook. So you mentioned you were having difficulties finding emails from senders. Well, let me minimize this so I can answer Paul's question. in my inbox, and I'm going to go to that in a moment, but up at the top, you have search. Have you ever used the advanced search feature, Paul? If you have not, then what I'm going to do is when I go to my inbox and I want to search, let's say I want to search for all emails from Jeff. Well, here is Jeff. But if I'm looking for something on a particular day that Jeff shared with me, then if I choose Jeff's name and then we have these other search fields, however, I can go and choose all of these details. You can also add January. All right, so when I type January, let me see, and hit enter, then these are things that happened in January. So I don't know if that helps you a little bit. However, I am going to share another favorite tool with you guys. And this is one that I use. I go to my view menu. This might also help you, Paul, and anybody else, obviously. Do show as conversations. Show as conversations is a way for you to group your emails by subject. If you're not familiar with this, it may take you a day or two to get used to it, but after you get used to it, I promise you'll love it. All right. So when I choose show as conversations, mine is already set up to be that way. That's what these arrows are to the left of my emails. And what you will do is, and I'll go and find one that I know has a lot of details in it. Let me find something else. I'll do this one. When I click that arrow, it will show me only the emails that people, not myself, responded. When I click again, it will show my response, and it shows that it was in the sent items. That's something small. I thought it was going to be a little bit larger. Let's see. I'll go back up because up here I do know that there are some. So here are some additional details. Here's one from Jeff. Just a couple from Jeff. And then, of course, when I click it again, I get my multiple responses. If you delete one out of here, then that's going to make it just a little bit harder to find. So the conversation view will keep your emails organized. Now, what that does for you as an end user, it keeps you from going to your sent items and searching to make sure you sent it and in your inbox and stuff like that. So you see, I have a bunch of these. And of course, when I click on this one from Jennifer, it shows this morning that we were communicating. And this is what is important. I use this blue bar on the left side as a way to help me remind myself to use this email in something I've got coming up. If I want to mark it as an unread message, I just click that blue bar. I don't have to right click. It's a lot faster. And of course, from there, all I've got to do is click it again to mark it as an unread message. So you see, I've left a few on here for you so I can show you just how quick it is. And it's a lot faster than you going in and right clicking and marking as unread, or in your settings. I have my settings set to where when I switch from one email to another, it doesn't mark it as a read message. There is a setting for that, so I have that turned off. And up at the top, another tool that I think is very helpful is when you go into Outlook, if your toolbar is missing your ribbon per se, just double click one of the tabs at the top and it locks your toolbar back in place. All right. Now, when I go and I'll open up another email, and I mentioned this to you, and as we go through on the insert menu, you have to click in the message field to be able to do this. When I click in the message field, here is reuse files. When I choose reuse files, you see these are all of the files that I have worked with recently. And because one of them's a PowerPoint, and that's a PowerPoint, then you can scroll down and you see all types of details. So if I go into, let's say, this particular email or document, and I only want to add a portion of it, you see when I hover over this top paragraph, it gives me a plus symbol. All I do is click on it and there it is. When it's an image or anything like that, or tools that you want to use, up at the top, I'll go back. And of course, this is my daily presentation that I use for training. When I open that up, it's going to take a moment to load the slides. And if I want to scroll down and hover over any of these slides that we share on a daily basis, I click and it populates the window. Images take just a few more minutes to go in there. All right. In the web version, Jessica, with this version, we don't have a lot to do on the desktop with pinning, but in your Outlook, when you're using the desktop, the web version, your question is, if I do not cover this, is there a way to pin emails to the top on the app like you can use in the online version? In the online version, it depends on, and I'm going to save this without sending it to anybody. Normally, when you right click on something, that's when you get the pin option. But in this one, you see we don't have that, unfortunately. But what you can do is use the flags. So thank you for allowing me to use that caveat to kind of get you in there. But when I use flags, for example, I have this one with Jennifer's client. I have marked this one with a flag to take care of after this webinar. And you see I've got this training coming up. So those are things that I use the flags for. So since we don't have the pinning option, you can use the flags to do the same thing. So I hope that was something that will help you. So I'm scrolling down to look at some of the questions. So Kimberly asked, is there a way to share an email to a group email to Teams chat? I can share from my personal email with no issues. But when I use the same process in a group email, it does not do anything. That's kind of unusual. So can't figure out if it is a setting I need to change. Currently just emailing it to myself so I can share it to Teams chat. Do you not drag? You can drag and drop it in Teams chat and it should.
It won't let me.
It won't let you?
Yeah, that's why I was
Okay.
thinking it might be a setting I just haven't figured out in there, but it's
Okay.
only does it whenever I'm working in a group email. My personal email, I have no issue.
Okay.
So I wasn't sure if there was some type of a restriction that I just didn't know about for a group email.
Okay. All right. So let me, if you will, let me kind of answer these other questions, especially about this, and then we'll look at that. Okay. All right.
Thank
So
you.
is there a way not to display the name in the email in the @ symbol when you place someone in the BCC field? No, unfortunately, there's not. And I know that's a bad thing, but yeah, that even in the BCC, when you're doing it, you're going to see their names. But when you send it to other people, they still should not see that. So hold on. I've got Sue Ann there, Brandon. I'm going to take you out. And I'm going to take Sue Ann out as well because I know she's busy. So I'm going to add myself down here and let me get rid of them. And it did not highlight like I wanted it to, and I'll delete that. So I'm going to type at Mona, and there's mine. And then what I'll do is click it and drag it to BCC. So right now I'm seeing this. My subject is going to be test. And what I'll do is send it, even with the attachments in there. And it will take just a moment for it to come across. Still in my outbox. And y'all need to check your drafts folder and your outbox regularly. So now in my email, again, it will take a moment to show up. So can you copy autocorrect from Word and paste them into Outlook? Yes, you can. You copy the text, but you have to create your own shortcut. You can paste them, and unfortunately, it has to be individually. So that might save you some time. But yes, you create your shortcut. You can have Word and Outlook, obviously, open at the same time, and you can copy and paste. All right, so see, here it is. Because it went from me, you're still not going to see it, but down here, I know is where you're referring to. Okay, so unfortunately, if you put it there, then no. That's when they're going to know that you sent them the BCC. Okay, so I hate telling people no on things, but that's one of the tools that can cause some issues. All right. I know we're semi-limited on time, so we have just a few more minutes. Conversations was, oh, I know it was for me too, Amanda. Conversation View, guys, it is life-changing. But let me share this one last thing with you on that, and I'll get to more questions. Your cleanup option on your home tab, what this does is it lets you clean out your emails that are redundant. And it has to be an exact. So in Outlook, when you have an email that everybody keeps responding to and you keep getting the same things over and over again, go and clean it up. Now, I clean mine out regularly. So when you choose cleanup folder, it gives you an option to clean up your folder. And now at the bottom, I see I had 8,563. So it didn't really take out but a couple, and it will tell you at the bottom how many that you have removed. I've had people remove 5,000 emails because they knew about the conversations, but they did not know about the cleanup option. Please use the cleanup option, okay? Yes, Lola, you do have to do the blue bar for each conversation that you have. I'm sorry. I know that's a little bit more time consuming, but if you'll do it as you go through, that will make it better. All right. Tap not available in your region. I'm not quite sure what you mean, Paul, about that. How do you add the message and insert tabs in the ribbon? You don't have those. The message tab, it's only available when you open up a new email. So when I click and open up the new email, that's when you get the message tab. Other than that, it won't be there. Okay. But to go in, you're welcome, Jessica, but to go in and add multiple tabs with buttons, what you have to do is, and I'll use this, you can right click and you can go to customize the ribbon. and it takes you into your backstage view, which is the file tab. And right now I can't do anything because I did it from within an email. And what you would do is add new tab, and it's going to ask you to give it a name. Let's see. Nope, it did let me do it. So I click on new tab, and you can choose rename. Then you can also add groups where our ribbons are broken down into groups. You can add whatever group name you want there, and you just keep adding new group and call it editing, or new group and call it, formatting, or whatever you want to call it. And then you go over here to the left. Instead of popular commands, you click the drop down and change it to all commands, and you get hundreds. And then make sure you remember, click on something and type the letter, I'll do the letter G, and it takes me down to the bottom to all of the functions that start with the letter G. And then you click whichever one you want and select add for the group that you use. Okay. All right, so if I minimize this, it's the same thing. Just right click on your ribbon anywhere and choose customize the ribbon if you want to get there the fastest way. Okay, and it does the same thing in all programs, not just in Outlook. So that works in Microsoft Word, Excel. Okay, excellent. So Mary, on yours, when you want to go into the new email, let me do this. You have to click in the message field down here, the body of the email, before you can go to insert and choose reuse files. All right. Yes, you can add the polling that way. You're welcome. It is available on there. Yes. You're right, Michael. It is available. Outlook Web. When you do, yes, a new event. Great question. So I'm not going to save this change and close that out. And don't forget your reading pane. Just last few quick little things. Make your reading pane as large as you need it to be, dragging that window. And also, just so you know, if I click on, I'll choose this email, it shows it to me. It's our new color logo. And to get back to it, don't go over here and click, go up at the top and choose back to message. Okay. Now, a couple of quick things on my calendar. This is what my calendar looks like. This is where I was sharing the categorize options with you. And these are things that I've added. We have an instructor calendar, but I've added this on here for purposes of sharing things with you and other webinars that I teach as far as for clients and tools like that. Your schedule view is up here at the top. This is one that I wanted to share with you live and in person. Okay. So today is the 21st. Here it is. I want to see what's on my calendar for at least 3 or 4 days. I'll pick 3. So today is the first date that I want to see. Hold down your control key and leave it held down and click on the other tool dates that you want to go to. So if I choose any of those dates, or I come down to April 14th, right before tax time, and it shows me those specific dates. So you don't have to go, and people will say, oh, well, you can only look at the next 7 days or the work week or the week. And that's simply not true. You can also click and hold and drag across a group of dates. But to me, I like using my control key and selecting random dates to see what's on my calendar, also what's on maybe the people that you support, what's on their calendars. Okay. Excellent. I want to thank you guys again so much for being